Good morning. Welcome to Saturday, June 3rd, 2023. This is Just Parlays with Chris King on the Winners and Liners Network. Of course, your host, Chris King, because as you see, like we say every week, there's nobody else here. Hopefully everybody had a good week. Enjoyed the long weekend last weekend. If you were in the United States, of course, for Memorial Day. A lot of stuff going down the past week. We finally had the NBA Finals start because what a weird Eastern Conference series that was, wasn't it? We saw the Heat lead 3-0, then they blew the next three games, and all of a sudden everybody was talking about how Boston was going to become the first team to come back from a 3-0 deficit in NBA history. And then we saw Game 7. And Boston had nothing in the tank. I know a lot of people are going to point to the fact that Tatum was injured, basically off the opening tip. But let's face it, Boston got nothing from their bench that entire series. The fact that they actually managed to push to 7 games was nothing short of amazing, especially after Derek White had the putback at the buzzer in Game 6 to force Game 7 of the series. Then we saw Game 1 of the NBA Finals, and Miami couldn't have played probably any worse in that game if they tried. You look at the way things unfolded, it was an 11-point loss. It could have been a lot worse. You look at the shooting in that game. Caleb Martin, who was the big hero for most of the series against Boston, 1 for 7. Finished with 3 points. Max Strus played 21 minutes, 0 for 10 from the field, 0 for 9 from 3. He made conjured up memories of John Starks in Game 7 of the 94 finals against the Rockets when he shot 2 of 18 from the field and 0 of 9 from 3. Jimmy Butler was 6 of 14. He only had 13 points. The big offensive weapon for the Heat was Bam Adebayo, who shot the ball 25 times and finished with 26 points, 13 rebounds. But let's face it, when he's trying to shoot the ball that many times, the Heat have some issues. You look, Miami shot a NBA playoff record low 2 free throws in the entire game. That's not going to get it done. Going into Game 2 tomorrow night, you have to wonder, will we see more of Haywood Highsmith? He was effective coming off the bench, had 18 points in 23 minutes, shot 7 of 10 from the floor. He seemed to be effective on both ends of the court there. And then you look at Denver's stats, they weren't necessarily pretty when it came to shooting threes. They finished just 8 of 27 from beyond the arc. Michael Porter Jr., 2 of 11 from 3. Jamal Murray was 2 of 7. And you look in, Jokic only had 12 shots from the field the entire game. He played 40 minutes, but still finished with 27, 10, and 14. So he was a very efficient player, scored a lot in the fourth quarter. After not really seeming interested to score in the first 3 quarters. Jamal Murray had 26. He was 11 of 22 from the field, also had 10 assists. Aaron Gordon, 16, shot 7 of 10 from the floor, so he picked where he left off in Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals. Bruce Brown had 10 off the bench. Porter Jr. finished with 14. But Miami's going to have to find a way to try and at least slow Jokic, and I don't know if that's possible. I mean, we haven't seen anybody do it yet. I don't know if you can trust Miami to do it with their lineup because they don't necessarily have a lot of size. And, that's a big problem when you're dealing with a team like Denver that has the athletic wings and everything else. But you look and, you're looking at their lineup, and Adebayo is 6'9", Butler 6'7", Love, if he plays, is 6'8". you don't have a big man. I mean, they're big. Cody Zeller, who's 6'11", but can you trust him to play any minutes that are worth anything? Then you've got Orlando Robinson, the rookie, who's 7 feet from Fresno State, but he hasn't really played in the postseason either. So there's not a ton of size on that Miami roster to try and contain guys like Jokic and then, Porter Jr. And that's been going to be a problem, especially if Denver can, control the way things have gone or control the way things go on the floor. The altitude, of course, is a big factor always in Denver. But you look at Denver's lineup, and, Jokic 6'11", Porter Jr. 6'10", and they've got other guys they can go to if they need to. If Jokic needs a breather and they feel like playing it big, you could put DeAndre Jordan, who's 6'11", or Thomas Bryant at 6'10" in there. Gordon is 6'8", Jeff Green is 6'8". So they've got a lot of guys that have height that they can use offensively, and that plus the altitude is probably going to wreak havoc again in Game 2. You would think. You take a look and you see that the odds makers quickly installing Denver again as an 8.5, 9-point favorite. And the Nuggets 43-7 at home, and counting the playoffs, they're 9-0 at home in the postseason, and they're tough to beat there. And it's the altitude's a big factor, and the fact that most of these teams don't have a ton of weapons, and they don't have size. It's going to be tough for the Heat to hang in. I give Miami a ton of credit. Eric Spoelstra did a great job getting his team to this point. Question remains, can he get them any further? And I'm not overly optimistic about it after, what we saw in Game 1. What else do we see go on yesterday? A lot of baseball. Washington and Philadelphia was a wild game. We saw the Nats held a 6-0 lead after 2 innings. Ended up trailing or watching Philadelphia commit to tie the game at 7 in the 8th. And then Washington won in the bottom of the 8th on an RBI single by Lane Thomas. Won 8-7. Philadelphia 5 straight losses now. They're 25-32. They're tied with the Nationals at the bottom of the NL East. They're 8 games behind Atlanta. You have to wonder, can they turn things around here? And then we look, of course, at another team that blew a big lead yesterday thanks to their bullpen, and that's the St. Louis Cardinals. Finding yet another way to blow a game. They led 5-0 after 5 innings. It was 5-1 after 6. Jack Flaherty actually turned in a decent start. Gave 1 run on 6 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, and 5 1/3. And then the bullpen took over and blew it up. Gave up 6 runs in the 7th. Pittsburgh wins 7-5 in that one. What else we see yesterday? We saw the Kansas City Royals and the Colorado Rockies in a game where literally dozens of people were watching. Give Jordan Lyles credit. He avoided taking a loss. He won't go to 0-10 quite yet. 5 innings, 1 run, 2 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. Got a no decision. The Royals led 2-1 after 7 innings. And like we just said about the Cardinals, then the bullpen showed up. And Carlos Hernandez gave up 4 runs on 3 hits in a third of an inning. And then Nick Whitgren gave up 2 more. So a 6-run 8th for the Rockies gives them a 7-2 win as they bounce back from that 4-game sweep at the hands of the Diamondbacks. What else did we see that was fun and exciting? Well, if you're an A's fan, at least you got to see fans because you were on the road. They still lost 4-0 to the Marlins as the lack of offense continues for the Oakland A's. In the game that everybody was excited about, opening up a series out west, two bitter former rivals, the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers blew out Luis Severino out of the box early. It was 6-0 after an inning, and you could turn the lights out at that point. Final score 8-4. Mookie Betts had 4 hits, including a pair of homers. He's got 15 on the year. Max Muncy hit his 18th. J.D. Martinez his 13th. For the Yankees, well, they hit 3 homers, but they only had 2 other hits beyond that. Josh Donaldson had a pair. He now has 3. Giancarlo Stanton back off the shelf. He hit his 5th. Aaron Judge 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Clayton Kershaw gets the win. He's 7-4. Like we said, Severino now 0-1. Disappointing games on the slate. Well, I expected more from the Mets. Justin Verlander must think he's back in Detroit because he pitched well, gave up a leadoff homer, and that was it. In 6 innings, he had 1 run, 5 hits, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. Unfortunately, the Mets didn't score. Finished with just 4 hits, struck out 10 times, 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Chris Bassett, 7 2/3, no runs, 3 hits, no walks, 8 strikeouts. Toronto wins 3-0 at Citi Field. Disappointing showing for sure for the Metropolitans as they tried to gain ground in the NL West or East. Big matchup in the AL West. We saw the Rangers blank the Mariners 2-0. John Gray continued his recent strong stretch. 7 shutout innings, 2 hits, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. Through just 82 pitches, his ERA down to 2.51. On the flip side, Luis Castillo, the hard luck loser, 1 run, 5 hits, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts in 7 innings. Like we said, final score, Texas 2, Seattle 0. I'll tell you what, Gray has pitched extremely well of late. You look at his numbers, in the month of May, he turned in a 195 earned run average. But going back to, if you throw out his first start of the year, or the first start of the month against Arizona, in his last 5 starts, going back to May 8th, 1 run, 4 hits, no walks, 8 strikeouts against Seattle. 8 shutout innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts against the A's. 5 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts against the Rockies. 7 innings, 1 run, 4 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts against Baltimore. And then 7 shutout innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts against the Mariners last night. He's taken his ERA from 4.40 to 2.51. And maybe this is what everybody thought about John Gray when he was drafted way back when. They thought this is what they could get out of him. He's never won more than 12 games in a season going into this year, and he's got 6 wins and 11 starts. So good on him. Good on the Rangers. They've managed to stay afloat in the American League West despite being without Jacob deGrom for the past month plus. They missed Corey Seager for a month. But they're still going out there and winning baseball games, and that's what you got to do at this point of the season if you hope to be successful. And they've got to keep winning because you look, and all of a sudden, here come the Houston Astros again where, they're coming back and starting to win games. They've taken the first 2 of their series against the Angels. Shohei Ohtani was on the mound yesterday for the Angels. Got roughed up 5 runs, 9 hits, a walk, and 6 strikeouts in 6 innings. Gave a pair of homers, 1 to Jordan Alvarez, 1 to Corey Julks. Framber Valdez, 7 shutout frames for Houston, 5 hits, a walk, 7 strikeouts. Houston goes on to win 6-2 to keep pace in the AL West. They're just 2.5 games behind Texas. The Angels fall to 30-29, 7.5 games back. Will we see another June swoon for the Angels? And if so, will that spell the end of the Ohtani era in Los Angeles? We'll have to wait and see how things play out, but not a promising start to the month as they've dropped 2 straight. Finally, we saw the Twins and the Guardians. We saw a wild game between them the other day where it was 7-6 as they rallied against the bullpen. Not quite as offensively charged last night. Final score 1-0 in favor of Minnesota. Jorge Polanco, the RBI double in the 7th, the only run of the ball game. Bailey Ober, 6 shutout frames for the Twins. Aaron Savale threw 5 shutout innings for the Guardians. Nick Sandlin got the loss for Cleveland. Brock Stewart gets the win for Minnesota. He's 2-0. Yohan Duran gets the save. Fan 3 in an inning and 2/3. Save number 8. The AL Central continues to be a cesspool. Twins have won 3 straight, so they're now 4 games above 500. 3.5 games ahead of the Tigers. Cleveland 5.5 back. The White Sox 7.5 back. Kansas City, who cares? But there you go with that. Of course, what have we got going on today? Got a lot of baseball still. The Stanley Cup Finals start today. The preseason for the CFL is over. Last night we saw Saskatchewan beat Winnipeg 28-16. We saw Hamilton fall to Montreal 25-22. That's right. The CFL is back. Regular season for the Canadian Football League starts on Thursday. Nathan Rourke and the BC Lions take on the Calgary Stampeders. That game at 9 Eastern. Friday, you get Hamilton taking on Winnipeg. Saturday, you've got the Ottawa Rough Riders taking on the Montreal Alouettes. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the Renegades. I'm still used to calling them, or the Red Blacks, or whatever the hell they are. I always call them the Rough Riders, or that's the way they were back in the 90s. And then finally on Sunday, Week 1 will come to a close when you have the Saskatchewan Rough Riders taking on the Edmonton Eskimos. So if you don't want to watch the USFL, the CFL is back this week. So we'll have plenty of that to talk about going forward. We said Stanley Cup Finals start tonight. We've got the Panthers and the Golden Knights. That'll be an interesting series. Of course, neither of these teams have ever won a cup. Florida's one trip to the finals was back in 1996 when they were whipped by the Avalanche. Vegas was in the Cup Finals in their opening year of existence. Haven't been back. But someone is going to hoist Lord Stanley's chalice for the first time. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Make sure you, like Brandon just said, make sure you hit the like buttons, like and subscribe so you know when we're here. Of course, it's Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Mountain, when Mountain Time exists, 6 a.m. Pacific. I don't remember what time it is in Hawaii, very early. If you don't catch it live, of course, you can watch the replay because it shows up on the Winners and Winers YouTube channel. All you have to do is make sure you click under the live tab because for some reason all the shows show up under the live tab as opposed to the videos tab. I don't understand why. I don't think anybody's figured that part out yet. Also, if you don't get enough picks from the show and you want to play the premiums, promo code on the bottom of the screen, you can use it, save 60% off any premium plays, whether you do an individual one, whether you go for the week or the month or the year or the decade or whatever. Saving 60%. It's a good deal. Take advantage of it. And with that said, let's roll into why people are here. And that starts with 3, 4, the money. I'm going to start with a prop there, Sam Bennett. Now, I looked at the shot props, and you can go either way on this with him because they had it at -2.5 last night, at over one or -143. It's still up there at a few books. Or if you want to go up, if you want to go up the ladder, over 3.5 is +110. I would go either way. I mean, you look, Bennett has gone over his shot prop in 7 straight games, 8 of his last 10. I like the 2.5 a little bit better just because of the fact that in 3 of those games he finished with 3 shots against the 2.5 number. But he also had 6 shots in 2 of his last 3 games. Finished with a total of 19 shots in the 4 games against the Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals. He finished with 3 points in the series. But I think that Bennett, he's going to be firing rubber on the net. And, with everybody worried about Matthew Tkachuk and Carter Verhaeghe and guys like that, a guy like Bennett can fly under the radar and register some rubber on Aiden Hill. Denise saying, go Golden Knights. I admittedly don't have a dog in the fight. I mean, Florida took Toronto out in the second round. I think it's going to be a good series. You got 2 goaltenders that have played really well. Bobrovsky's played out of his mind since he took over for Alex Leon in the first round against Boston. Aiden Hill stepped in to replace the injured Laurent Brossoit. And, all he's done is stand on his head most of the playoffs. He's faced a lot of shots on a night in, night out basis. He was good in the regular season, 16-7-1, 245 goals against, 915 save percentage, no shutouts. But in the playoffs, 7-3, 207 goals against, leads the playoff goaltenders with 2 shutouts and a 937 save percentage. He's faced 333 shots in those 11 games, 9 of which are starts. He came in relief twice. Just take a look see what we got here. Hill's a big goaltender at 6'6", 215. You throw out his one relief appearance when he made 4 saves in the third period of a game back on May 6th. He's only had one really subpar start. Well, 2, I guess. He gave 4 goals on 33 shots against Edmonton back on May 10th, and then he gave 4 goals in the Game 5 loss to Dallas on 34 shots. But, you look at some of the other numbers, like we said, stopped 38 out of 40 against Edmonton in the clincher. Stopped 39 out of 42 in the Game 4 loss to Dallas when he was hurt, or Vegas was hurt by the penalty to McNabb that set up the game-winning power play. And then when the series was on the line, he blanked Dallas stopped all 23 shots he faced in Game 6. Hill has played well. San Diego over the Cubs. I know the Cubs won yesterday 2-1. Congratulations to Jameson Taillon for finally getting a friggin' win. After signing that contract in the offseason, he's now 1-3. His ERA is still over 7. It's freaking June. Today's pitching matchup, Drew, don't call me Guy Smiley, taking the mound for the Cubs against Yu Darvish, who is familiar with the organization, having played there before getting traded a couple years ago. Darvish pitches well at home. And, the Cubs have sputtered in clutch situations at the plate. We saw it on Wednesday in the final game of the series with against the Rays. They were ahead, then they fell behind. Then they had opportunities late. They had runners on the corners with one out in the eighth, and then Swanson and Happ both went down on strikes to end the inning. They had the bases loaded with one out in the ninth and couldn't get the tying run home. I know Darvish was lit up in his last start by the Yankees, but that game was on the road. This game is in Petco Park where runs go to die. I don't expect much in the way of offense. I leaned toward the under in the game overall. I just think Darvish will get the better of Smiley. In this one, it'll probably be a 3-2, 4-2 type of game. But in a matchup like that, I'll take Darvish over Smiley. As well as Smiley's pitch, he showed some cracks against the Reds in his last start. And last I checked, San Diego has a better lineup talent-wise than the Reds do. And then we've got Houston over the Angels. Like I said, we just talked about a few minutes ago. Houston's won the first two games in this series. It's Patrick Sandoval against Christian Javier. Sandoval 3-4, 342 earned run average, 128 whip, 22 walks, 36 strikeouts over 55 and a third. This season, Javier has been brilliant. A lot of those guys on the Houston rotation have been very good. 6-1, 297 earned run average, an 099 whip, 16 walks, 67 strikeouts in 63 and 2/3 innings and 11 starts. Houston has won his last, his last 5 outings. He went 4-0 in the month of May with a 240 earned run average through 30 innings in 5 starts. Struck out 32 in that span. Playing at home, where we've seen Houston have a lot of success, over the years. I mean, they're 17 and 13 this year, but they're finally getting healthy. They've got Altuve back. Kyle Tucker's in there. Alvarez is of course hitting well. If Bregman gets on track and Jose Abreu shows some signs of life, Texas will have to watch out because you're not the defending champs for nothing. So I think Houston will take care of business in that one. It's just hard to have faith in an Angels team that started off so well last year. Remember, they led the AL West in mid-May and then went right down the toilet. I'm kind of curious to see if that's the case again this season. But as it stands, they just beat up Ohtani. If they beat Ohtani, why should I trust Patrick Sandoval to beat them? With that said, we will move on to fourth of the show. And here's no surprise here. We talked about the goaltenders playing extremely well for both teams going into the Stanley Cup Finals. I gave you Hill's numbers a minute ago. But, just taking a look at what Bobrovsky has done in the postseason, he has posted a record of 11-2, 221 goals against. He's right behind Hill in save percentage, 935, one shutout. He leads the playoffs in saves with 471, mainly because, he keeps getting bombarded with shots. But you look at his numbers and see what he's done here in this postseason. In game 6, or I'm sorry, in game 7 against Boston, he stopped 33 of 36 shots. In game 5, he stopped 44 of 47. In the series against Toronto, he stopped 34 of 36 in game 1, 35 of 37 in game 2, 22 of 24 in game 3. In game 4, where he lost, he stopped 23 of 25. And then in the clincher there, saved 50 of 52 shots. You go to the Eastern Conference Finals, he was pretty much unbeatable. He got 6 goals in the 4 games. Stopped 63 of 65 in game 1 in that quadruple overtime win. 37 of 38 in game 2. Stopped all 32 shots he faced in game 3. And then stopped 36 of 39 in the clincher when Tkachuk scored in the final 5 seconds to give Florida the 4-3 win and send Carolina home. I mean, Bobrovsky's played out of his mind. Aiden Hill's played well. I don't expect a lot of goals here. And if I can get it at plus money, like it's showing, I'll take it. This could be a 2-1. Hell, it could even be 1-0 type of game for all we know. But don't expect a ton of offensive fireworks. Now, of course, now that I said that, this game will be 7-6 or something like that. The Yankees, I look to bounce back in this one against the Dodgers. The pitching matchup just favors them substantially. You've got Garrett Cole, who, admittedly had his moments against them in the World Series when he was with Houston a few years ago, but he comes in 6-0, a 114 whip, 26 walks, 79 strikeouts, and 73 2/3 innings. He'll face Michael Grove, who's coming off the injured list, had a groin injury. He's made 2 starts this year, 4 runs, 4 hits, 4 walks, 10 strikeouts, and 9 2/3. I'm sorry, that's at home. I hate the way some of these numbers come up sometimes. On the season, Grove has made 4 starts. I'm sorry. Giving up, 15 runs on 21 hits, 7 walks, and 14 strikeouts. His whip is 175. He's thrown 16 innings on the year. Opponents have had some success against him, to say the least. And you have to wonder what kind of leash is Grove going to be on coming off the IL. And how are they going to line up behind him as far as the bullpen goes? Either way, I'll take Garrett Cole in that one, just because it's tough to have a ton of faith in a guy, A, who sucked, and B, who's coming off the injured list, because you don't know what you're going to get out of him. Marchessault, I like him. He's an effective goal scorer. If you wanted to play the goal prop on him, you could. It's plus 185. He scored 4 times in the last 5 games against Dallas. He had the hat trick in the clincher against Edmonton. He had 7 points in the last 5 games against the Stars. His point prop is minus 150 for over to score a point, basically. But you look at his shot props. Against Edmonton, he was lighting it up with shots. He had the last 4 games against the Oilers, he had 23 shots on goal. Against the Stars, he finished in the 6 games, he had 16 shots. Went under in all 6 games. 2-3-3-3-3-2. So under 3.5 seems like the solid option here. It's minus 155. That's a DraftKings. If you bounce around, it goes up from there. Like I said, if he scored at least 1 point in 8 of his last 10, so if you wanted to go that route, you could as well, but you don't know what kind of offensive bonanza or lack of you're going to get in this game. Then we're going to go with Spencer Strider, the Braves, his strikeout prop. Now, last night, and I know that could have changed since, but last night, yeah, you can still get over 7.5 if you want to go down the ladder at minus 146. On the flip side, since I did this slide, you can get over 8.5. It's up to plus 120 at BetMGM, plus 115 at DraftKings as of this moment, which is 9:38 Eastern. But you look at what Strider's done. He hasn't struck out less than 7 guys in a start all season long. He had 9 against the Padres, 9 against the Reds, 9 against the Padres again, 13 against the Marlins, 8 against the Mets, 10 against Baltimore, 12 against Toronto, 7 against Texas. Let me see. I think that was a shorter start for him, too. Yeah, he only threw 5 innings against the Rangers and got kind of beat up, gave 4 runs in that one. 11 against the Dodgers, and then 9 against the Phillies in his last start. So, I mean, Strider's averaging better than 9 strikeouts a game. I like 8.5. I like over 8.5. I think he can get to 10. Arizona, and just take a look here at my stat page here. I mean, Arizona is not necessarily a big strikeout team, but there's a lot of youth in that lineup, and with the stuff that Strider brings to the table, it can be tough to make contact. I like the way what Strider does. He mixes his pitches well. Let's face it, the Diamondbacks aren't an offensive team that are going to scare the hell out of you. I think he gets to 9, and he might get to 10. I mean, he's just that good when it comes to striking guys out. And that's something that can't be overlooked. Now, with that, we'll just remind everybody again to make sure you hit the like button and subscribe and all that good stuff so you know when we're here. Also, like I said, use the promo code at the bottom of the screen. Save yourself some money on the premium plays as well. And, of course, make sure you comment and let us know what kind of stuff you want to see us bring into the show. Whether it's talking about the WNBA or talking about like I said, the CFL or the USFL, which I admittedly have not watched a ton of this season because after watching the XFL, just hadn't really gotten to the USFL. I mean, it's week 8 of the USFL. Today you got Houston playing Pittsburgh, Philadelphia playing Birmingham, and then tomorrow you'll have Memphis and New Jersey, Michigan, and New Orleans. 2 weeks left in the regular season. You look at the North Division, the Philadelphia Stars lead the way. They're 4-3. The Michigan Panthers are 3-4. The Generals are 2-5. Pittsburgh is 2-5. The weird part is you look at those teams in the North, and New Jersey has the best point differential at 0. Philadelphia's point differential minus 28. Michigan minus 31. Pittsburgh minus 32. Meanwhile, you look over in the South Division, and everybody's above 500. Birmingham is 5-2. Memphis is 4-3. They've won 4 in a row. New Orleans is 4-3. They've lost 3 in a row. And Houston is 4-3. And they all have positive point differentials. Birmingham plus 58. Memphis plus 3. New Orleans plus 14. Houston plus 16. The names may be the same from some of the original teams back in the 80s. The offense, not quite as much. There's no Jim Kelly running the run and shoot for Houston. And you look at some of the names and you're like, they're not overly impressive. McLeod Bethel Thompson leads the league in passing yards. Alex Magoo leads in passing touchdowns. I mean, the names aren't going to move the needle a whole lot when you get right down to it. But yeah, a couple weeks left of that. Do I like the Astros today? Yes, I do. Ryan talked about them in the 3 for the show, or 3 for the money. I like Javier Sandoval. You know, like I said, we just saw the Angels get beat with Ohtani on the mound. It's hard to see them rebounding under Sandoval, who admittedly has had his issues of late. You know, he's got a losing record. The Angels don't necessarily score a whole bunch for him either. And you're facing a Houston team that's played good baseball over the last few weeks after that sluggish start to the year. Just taking a quick look at Sandoval in his career against Houston, 0-4, a 755 earned run average, a 1.677 whip, 14 walks, 25 strikeouts. He's given up 8 homers in 31 innings of work. As Jim Taddy would say, yes, guy. Not a fan of what Sandoval brings to the table in this one. He did get a no decision in his one start against the Astros this year, which came back on May 8th. He had 4 runs on 7 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts, and 6 1/3. In that one, the Angels rallied to win 6-4 by scoring twice in the 8th of Rafael Montero, who everybody knows is not very great. But yeah, I'm going to go with Houston today. I think about pairing Houston with Coastal Carolina. Yeah, College World Series, that's going on too. A lot of good stuff going on with that. Probably not a bad way to go. I don't think they're going to be as flat as they were yesterday, where they got stunned by Ryder. You know, Ryder had that 9-run inning there to rally to win 11-10. I don't think you're going to see that happen again. I think that was a punch in the mouth, and that could be something that wakes Coastal up for the rest of the Conway Regional. Corey, you can play it either way. I think, you know, we saw Houston has covered the run line in the first 2 games of the series. They won 5-2 and then 6-2. They should beat up Sandoval. And like we said, Javier pitched extremely well in May. I think that they should cover the run line. It'll probably be another 3-run type of game where Houston puts it away. And with that, we go to everybody's favorite part of the show. That's right, the shot in the dark. And you're to blame. All right. Now, of course, you don't have to play all of these. You can play some of them. You can play a couple of them. You can mix them with the other ones. You can mix them with your own. That's the fun part of it. Makes it entertaining. I'm going to take Vegas to take game 1. I know that I've talked a lot about how Bobrovsky has played really well, and he has. I'm not going to take that away from him. But Vegas is at home, and they feed off that crowd. And I think, you know, as the game winds down, that'll work in their favor. I think it's going to be a tight series. I think this is probably going to go 6 or 7 games. But in this one, I'm going to back the home team in the opener as they come up with the win. Eichel under 3.5 shots. I know everybody's waiting for Eichel to score a goal because he didn't light the lamp against Dallas at all. He did have 4 assists. I don't think this is the day he does it. You know, you look at the Dallas series, He went over his shot prop in 2 of the 6 games. He had 4 shots in game 1. He had 7 shots in game 4. In the other 3 games, 3, 0, 3, and 3. I think that Florida will be keying on him. He'll be matched up a lot probably with the Kachuk line. I'd like for him to fall under the total on his shots. The Reds and the Brewers. I'm going to take the Reds. And, you can also probably take the over in this game. Wind blowing out in Cincinnati. Big surprise. Pitching matchup. Nothing to be excited about. I can figure out where the hell it went. Colin Ray going against Graham Ashcraft. Line shifted a little bit overnight. Milwaukee's still the favorite, but let's face it, Colin Ray is not good. It's supposed to be 92 in Cincinnati today. So hot temperatures, got some winds blowing towards right. But we know what a bandbox the Great American Ballpark is. I'm just going to lean towards the better pitcher. And I know when you look at the numbers, you're like, Ashcraft has an ERA of 5.5. How is he better? Well, he's got a better track record than Colin Ray. He's 3-3 on the year, coming off a win in his last start. I know everybody's like, well, come on, Colin Ray's got wins. He's won 2 straight starts. Yeah, well, so what? Ray doesn't go deep in games. He can get lit up. And playing in Cincinnati is not a place where you want to be a mediocre pitcher by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, nothing wrong with backing the Marlins. Marlowe, they blanked the A's yesterday. Shintaro Fujinami lost another one. I just don't expect a lot of runs in that game. I would back the Marlins in that one, though. I mean, you've got Yuri Perez, who's pitched pretty well in his first 4 starts, taking on Luis Medina, who's 0-4 with a 683 earned run average in his 5 appearances. He's given up 10 home runs in 27 2/3 innings. Now, while he might not have to worry about that playing in Lone Depot Park, the fact remains that the Marlins are the better team. And I think Perez will pitch well enough against this mediocre AA Oakland lineup to get the win. So I think you're safe there. I just think it'll be another low-scoring game. The Royals over the Rockies. You know why I'm picking the Royals? A, because the Rockies don't normally score on the road. B, Jordan Lyles isn't pitching for the Royals. It's Daniel Lynch against Austin Gomber. Gomber is, not great, Bob. He's 4-4 on the year, but his earned run average is 7. He's given up 12 homers in 54 innings. He's walked 22. He struck out 34. He's given up 62 hits. Now, he is coming off a no decision in his last start against the Mets. The funny part was he gave up 6 runs on 8 hits in 4 innings in a game they won 11-10. Gomber's given up at least 3 runs in 7 of his last 10 starts. He's given up at least 5 runs in 5 of those 10 starts. That doesn't inspire a bunch of confidence in me, even if he's facing a team like the Royals that don't score. Lynch looked pretty good in his first start, went 5 1/3, 2 runs, 5 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts, and a 3-2 win over Washington last Sunday after coming off the shelf with a shoulder injury. I'll take the Royals in that contest. The Blue Jays over the Mets. This is the reverse of what I put yesterday because I took the Mets as one of my top plays, and, of course, they didn't score any runs. Here you've got Barrios going against Tyler McGill. It's a bit dicey going with Barrios on the road, given his career road numbers. But, he's won back-to-back road starts. In fact, he's won 3 straight road starts. Beat the Pirates back on May 6th, then beat Tampa Bay on 23rd, and then beat Minnesota on Sunday. So look at that, 3 road wins in the same season for Barrios. He's now 3-3 on the road on the year. McGill, I don't know what to make out of him. I don't think the Mets know what to make out of him. He's basically in the rotation because they don't have anybody else because everybody's hurt. Took a no decision in that game that we were just talking about with Gomber. He gave 6 runs, 4 earned, 10 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts in 4 innings. Took the loss before that against the Cubs. Gave up 6 runs, 4 earned, 6 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, and 3 2/3. He's gone past the 5th inning just once in his last 9 starts. So don't look for a lot of depth there. Denise very excited about the Golden Knights, talking about how to lift that cup. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very good series. And the bad part is people will talk about how the TV ratings won't be great because they're 2 small markets and there's no Canadian teams and everything else. But these teams earned the right to be there, and it's going to be an entertaining one, to say the least. Talked a minute ago about the A's and the Marlins staying under the total. We saw 4 runs yesterday combined. Guess what? The A's didn't score any of them. Oakland fell to an impressive 12-47 on the year. They're 5-23 on the road. The game was over after the first inning when the Marlins scored twice. Shintaro Fujinami fell to 2-6 despite only pitching the first inning. His ERA is 12.19. The Marlins 2 games above 500. That's despite Sandy Alcantara struggling this season. Facing a bad team like the A's, who have 5 wins in 28 road games this season, I'm going to take the under. But if I was picking a side, I would take Miami to win that game rather comfortably. I like Perez a lot more than I like Luis the Funky Cold Medina. McGill under 5.5 strikeouts. Like I said, he hasn't lasted that long in his last couple of starts. And his high on the year for strikeouts is 5. So, and I see they've adjusted the number now. It was under 5.5 last night. Now it's under 4.5. He still might not get there. Kachuk to score a goal. I went on. I normally don't chase goal type props, but Kachuk has scored 4 times in the Eastern Conference Finals. And this is one that you don't necessarily have to play. I just threw it in there as something different. His shot prop is over 3.5 is plus 115, under 3.5 is minus 125. For the record, he stayed under in 7 of his last 10. So I would probably lean towards the under on that. Shea Theodore over 2.5 shots. Theodore, he's been quietly basically the Vegas version of Brandon Montour when it comes to putting pucks on the net between himself and Peter Angelo. You look in the last couple games, he's gone over his shot total in 5 of the last 6. 3-2, 3-3, 1-3. So, 3 shots will get you there, and at plus 140, it's a nice price to have to work with. And then Gustav Forsling over 1.5 shots. It's not a high number. Forsling has quietly developed into a third line type of guy that can give you some offense. He went over his shot prop in 3 of the 4 games against Carolina in the Eastern Conference Finals. Look for him to pull that out again. Corey asking real quick about the best 2 plays. I'd probably say either San Diego and Houston, or you could also mix the Yankees in there if you wanted to. The Marlins are obviously a big favorite over the A's. And I also like, as bad as the Cardinals bullpen was, I like the Cardinals over with Jordan Montgomery. But if I had to, if you're not paying attention to lines at all, obviously Atlanta would be in the mix. But with more reasonable lines, I'd probably say Atlanta or not Atlanta. I mean San Diego and Houston. Minnesota would be a close third because I like what Sonny Gray has done this year. If you had asked me about 4, I would say Houston, Minnesota, San Diego, and probably the Yankees. But if you're just going with 2, San Diego, Houston. And with that will wrap up the show for today, first Saturday of June. Hopefully the weather is good wherever you guys are. Hopefully you enjoy the day and the rest of the weekend. And make sure you come back here next week when we talk about more exciting plays. Talk about what's going on with the NBA Finals. Could be over by then for all we know. Stanley Cup Finals. We can talk about the CFL. We can talk about WNBA. We'll talk about the College World Series. We'll talk about miniature golf, tiddlywinks, backgammon, croquet. You name it. We've probably talked about it at some point. But seriously, make sure you bet responsibly. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good week. And we will see you back here. Yeah, you can. I would definitely run line the Astros. The Padres, you can go either way. I don't expect a lot of runs at Petco Park. So that one I would probably lean more towards the money line just because you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, we saw a 2-1 game last night. And with Darvish and Smiley, you might not get more than, a 3-2 game. But that'll do it. Thanks for being here, everybody. Like I said, subscribe, ring the bell. Use the promo code on the premiums. You can get my parlay picks, or you can get single game or single sport or whatever picks as well. Enjoy the week. We'll see you next Saturday. Same bat time, same bat channel. For the Winners and Winers Network and for Just Parlays, I'm Chris King. So long, everybody.